Okay, so I'm recording on 2 different cameras, just in case one fails, because technology seems to break around me all the time now. I don't know how to start this, so I'm just going to start talking, and maybe I will blend some other videos together before I make this an official video, but this is going to be the main one, to talk about everything. I need to just talk about it from the beginning. I keep thinking of how to do this, how I should write it all down, and I should make a one of those webs that you start off with, like they teach you in writing school. Like, start off with a web, and then do a I can't even think of the words. Like a summary, and then I wanted to make it all official, and I wanted to make it something that I wrote out, because I felt like if I wrote it out, that would make it more meaningful. But the truth is, I don't have it in me. I don't have it in me to write it out. It's too hard to even think about. When I look at them, it's just too hard. I can't think. I can't breathe. They are the loves of my life, and they are taken away from me. And I need to explain the story of how it all happened. I'm wearing a Mario onesie because it makes me feel safe, and I'm wearing my friend's cross because it also makes me feel safe. I need to tell people the truth, and I don't care what people think of me, because I need help. This whole video and all of my other videos that will come after this is all so I can get some help retrieving my children. There are 3 missing still. They're the loves of my life. I've had them for almost 13, 12, and 7 years, and I am dying without them. I made some mistakes because of some things that happened to me that I would love to explain to the world, because they're pretty interesting things. And in my explaining my truth, I hope that there are people out there that might be able to help me get a lawyer so I can get my dogs back. They were registered as emotional support animals, and a lot of people don't believe in those, but I can tell you that with all the diagnoses that I have just been given recently in my life, following a 21-day hospital stay, 3 separate times, for 21 days altogether, I've been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. I've been diagnosed with bipolar disorder. I've been diagnosed with anxiety, depression, and just overall, here's your crazy stamp. And I learned while I was in the hospital that crazy doesn't exist, and I love myself exactly how I am. And I was willing to take the medicine that they gave me while I was in the hospital, so I could prove to them that I was a stable person after doing what I did, which I'll explain later. And I did everything that I was supposed to do, and they kept me there so much longer than I was supposed to be. And it is the reason why I had my dogs taken from me. They were in the Humane Society for too long, and then they were taken from me. And then the Humane Society and the hospitals were working together to basically make sure that I didn't get them back. They didn't want me to get them back, and they said that I was an unfit dog mother, which is not true. I was having a really hard time in my life for a lot of different reasons, and I was having a moment. Lots of people have moments, and I've had a few in my life. This one was definitely the biggest. They call it a bipolar manic episode. I think it can be called a whole bunch of different things. I think certain people believe in certain ideas, and I have just recently started to believe in God, and before that I believed in the universe and how everything happens for a reason, and I believed in angel numbers and seeing signs from whatever it is that we come from, but I believed in science because I've believed in science my whole life. It's what I've always wanted to go to school for. And I know now that there is something else because of what has happened to me, and I would like to explain it. It's so hard to even begin to talk about because there's so much, and I don't want to get off the track that I'm trying to tell. I guess this is why it should have been better written out, but I don't have it in me to write it out. I have a hard time just getting out of bed every day when I used to have a basset hound who would wake me up every morning with his whining. Every single morning he would make sure that I was awake, even though he could go outside by himself. He was my alarm clock. I don't have him anymore. For almost 13 years, he's been in my life. And he's the love of my life. And I miss him so much. When I'm sad, he was the thing that made me happy. I mean, they all did, but Keebler was my shadow. He literally followed me around everywhere I went. There was not a time where I didn't have him right next to me. If he was asleep and if he felt me move, he would follow me around the house, and he was my shadow. And I've gone through so much with him. He had to have this surgery that was awful, and I dreaded every moment of it, and he survived it, and it was really expensive, and ever since moving to this island, we've had bad things happen to us, and Keebler has always been there. And everyone has always told me that it's the reason why I have so many problems in my life is because he's a basset hound and he's so bad and he escapes and he howls and he's my child. Oh God, and it is so hard to live without him. I can't think, I can't get up, I can't find the happiness that I used to have in life, because it was him. It has been him since I was 16 years old. Since the moment he put his little puppy paw up on that window in that pet store, I knew that he was my Keebler, and that we were going to be together forever. He was the dog that I've wanted my whole life, and he became mine, and oh my God, that dog has changed my life, and we have never been apart this long, ever. And he has separation anxiety, as do I, which has probably been more increased by the fact that he does, and anytime I left him, he would howl and freak out, so I took him with me all the time, everywhere I went, and when we were homeless for 6 months, and I had 5 dogs living in a car, and everyone thought I was crazy because I wouldn't give my dogs away, but they were my children, and Keebler has been my child since I was 17 years old. Ada came after like a year, and I've had her since the day she was born. She was my mom's Chihuahua's puppy, and she was born after 2 dogs died, and I was the only one home, and I did the whole 101 Dalmatians mouth-to-mouth CPR thing, trying to get them to come alive because I wasn't awake, and then when I woke up she was trying to like lick them alive, and I felt responsible. And the first one that lived was Ada, and so I was attached to her. And so I've had her since the day she was born. And I don't even like little chihuahuas. Like, she's afraid of everything, and I've never hurt her a day in her life, but I'm the only person that she comes to. I'm the only person that she feels safe with. Like, even sometimes she's afraid of me, and I can't even imagine where she's at right now, like how afraid she is, and who's taking care of her. And if she's hiding, and if they can find her, and if she gets out, because she gets out so easily, like. And I know that her face looks messed up because she had a surgery too, and it was really, really expensive. And it was because Remedy, my other dog, bit her. Freak accident, and everyone told me Remedy was a bad dog, but she's not. She saved my life. But Ada had to have surgery, and then the surgery failed, and the metal plate fell out of her face, and they said that if she had another surgery, it would just hurt her more, and that she was fine and she didn't feel pain. And so they said that she might need another surgery, and that whoever was adopting her might have been doing this. And I have no idea. Like, if she's even okay. She's an old dog, and she has, like, issues, and she's afraid of everything. And then Remedy is literally my remedy to life. When she came into my life, it was a really bad time, and she fixed so many problems, and she created a lot of problems too with her mischievousness. She can get out of any fence ever, and she's the type of dog who would escape every single day, and then she would be waiting for me on the porch when I got home. Always. She always came back to me, and any time that she gets out, it's because she's just chasing after me, because she wants to be with me all the time. And when all of this stuff was happening, and when the police were looking for me, and they looked for like 20 minutes, and didn't know if I was alive or dead, the person who found me was not a person, it was my dog. It was Remedy. She escaped out of the bathroom because they didn't close the door, and she escaped out of a tiny little window, broke the screen out, jumped out, and found me in the forest within 5 minutes. That dog saved me from being raped when I was homeless. Some men tried to attack me, and they didn't know that I had dogs, and Remedy jumped over my head and attacked this man and almost killed him, and I had to take her off of him because he had a bottle of vodka at 7 o'clock in the morning in his hands, and he was trying to come in my car. That dog saved my life. I've literally seen her get hit by a car, and the car just kept going, and she just walked away because she's amazing, and it didn't even faze her. But I saw it happen. Like, when we were homeless, she escaped out of the car once, and I looked around the entire town for her, and then she just went back to the last place that we were parked, because that's where we parked a lot, because she's the smartest dog in the world, and I cannot even think about what she thinks right now. Like, she thinks that I abandoned her. She needs me. I'm telling you, I'm a good mother, and she needs me, and I need her. Please, to the people who have been watching over my dogs since what has happened to me, going in and out of the hospital for the reasons that I will talk about after this that I truly don't think I deserved because of what the circumstances were. But I will explain. So the people who have adopted them, please let me have them back. They are my children. They are my life. I can tell you a million stories of every little scar that they might have, or every little freckle that they didn't have before, and how they've changed and what they used to do when they were little, and how they used to sleep on my neck, and they are literally my heart and souls, and I can't live without them. And they're getting older, and I need to spend this time with them. Like, I appreciate you for taking care of them while I could not, but I can now. I might not have much at the moment. I'm living off-grid, but they won't mind. Lots of people do. I have 3 jobs at the moment, and I'm going to just keep going because I need to make as much money as I can so I can make a permanent house for them, which is my plan. I'm going to make a permanent house for them on my property, and I will never ever have anything like this happen again. I would like to explain how all of this happened and how my dogs were taken away from me. And it's hard to explain because most people probably won't believe me. So I'm going to make this a little bit comical because I'm really hungry and I need to eat something. So as we just digest the fact that all of my children have been taken away from me, I was in the hospital for 21 days, and I was in the hospital for 21 days. While I was in the hospital, my children were taken to animal control, and they were supposed to be given back to me. And then when I got out of the hospital, they didn't want to give them back to me because of what I did, which I'll go into later. And I understand why they had concerns, but they had no right to take my kids away from me. They had no right to do what they did. I was supposed to have 30 days to get them back, and they didn't communicate with me who the people were, how to get them back. They didn't say anything because I wasn't allowed to speak to them. And then when I finally was able to get some of them out, 2 of them were adopted the night before, and then the 3rd one that was supposed to be there, they said was not there. But the person who adopted the 2 before owns an animal rescue, and she was the person I actually contacted when I was in the hospital. But I have no recollection of this because when I was taken to the hospital, they had drugged me with something that I did not sign off for, that I told them that if they did this to me, I was going to sue them because it was now the 3rd time that they were injecting it in me, and this time I lost an entire day. I have no recollection of the day at all, and apparently the first call that I made was to this person to get her to hopefully help adopt my dogs out of the animal control. And this was while I was out of my mind because of whatever drug they gave me, and I have no recollection of this conversation at all. And so she told me that she was trying to do stuff while I was in the hospital to get them out, and that basically the Humane Society was saying to her that they didn't want me to have my dogs back because they thought that I'm a crazy girl in the hospital, and why should I have my dogs back? I can understand what this looks like. I'm 29 years old. I'm wearing a Mario onesie and eating Cocoa Puffs out of a styrofoam bowl with a plastic spoon. I hate myself right now, but times are hard. And I didn't do this to myself. I had my life, I had a job, I had a house, I had all of my dogs, and then I went to the hospital because of some stuff that really I should not have been in the hospital for, at least as long as I was, because I was cleared every time. And I became a number in the system. I was not there to get help or treatment. The help and treatment was not doing anything. It was just making my anxiety worse, because the things that help me with my anxieties are my dogs. And that's why, like, some people really do need emotional support animals. Like, I don't need them to go into the grocery store every time with me, even though I have to wear headphones on my head anytime I go into a loud place like that, because I feel like I have Asperger's, which is an entirely other thing, but I truly do feel like I get overwhelmed in crowded places, and I always want my dogs around me. Like, always, always. They make me feel so much better. They just know how to make everyone feel better. That's what dogs do. And anyway, I need another bite. So the animal control did not want me to have my dogs back. And the day that I went in there, they had said that the lady who I contacted came and adopted 2 of my dogs. And I was like, well, what about the third one? Because the other 3 had already been adopted out. And then the third one that was supposed to be there, it was little Dobby, a little house elf. And she's right there. Dobby! Dobby! Oh, that's Dobby. Anyway, and that's Peaches back there. So I asked them about Dobby, and this is while I had a police escort, okay? So I had a police escort with me because of what I did, which I'll get into later. So I made sure that I was going to be safe and that they were going to be safe and there wasn't going to be any problem. So I brought the police escort with me, and they told me and the police escort that my third dog wasn't there and she had been adopted already too. They lied straight to my face, and they lied straight to the police officer's face, because when I got out of the Humane Society thinking that I was going to go in with 3 dogs, coming out with 0 dogs, I didn't know who to call, and I called this lady who they had mentioned at the very end when I was walking out. Oh yeah, well Debbie adopted the other 2, and then I was like, oh my gosh, okay, well I have at least a lead, because I had no recollection of calling her. So I called her, and then she told me how I had called her while I was in the hospital and asked her to help me with all of this, and I had no memory of it at all. And so she said that my Basset Hound was given to a Basset Hound couple, like somebody who has 2 Basset Hounds. So that makes me feel like he's in a good place, and hopefully he's not, being used for, like, breeding or... I mean, I've always wanted Keebler puppies, but he's really old, and he's still a virgin, and I just hope that he's not being used as, like, a hunting dog, because he doesn't know how to do that, and I really hope that Remedy's not being used as a hunting dog, because she has this aggression in her now that came from this bad stuff that happened to me, and it created an aggression in her, and she's taken it out on little vermin type animals before, like the mongoose, and I don't want her to become a dog that learns how to do stuff like that. I want her to be able to get her energy out, but like, people do things with dogs here that are not okay, and that was the whole reason why all of this started in the first place, because I couldn't handle looking at it anymore, and I had to do something about it. And I stood up for dogs because they were being mistreated, and then everyone thought I was crazy, and then they made me go to a hospital, and then my life was taken away from me. That's the short version. This is really good Cocoa Puffs. I want to tell people how it all started. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to get through it, how long this is going to take. I'm going to try to be short. But I just have to start from the beginning. So, in July, I got fired from my job. I had a hernia. I had a doctor's note for it. I also challenged the dress code because it was not smart, and I felt like I was going to pass out there all the time, and other people could wear shorts, and I wanted to wear shorts, and it was stupid. Anyway, so they fired me. And then I was like really, really poor. Like, I didn't have money for anything, for food or anything, and I was starving. And I asked people for help to feed myself and my dogs. And no one helped me. And looking back, it's like all a blur, like how the timeline was, but basically there was like a period of like 5 days where I didn't eat, and I had like all the food that like was in the house, like rice and like powdered mashed potatoes and like really cheap food like I made for the dogs, and I just like kind of put it all over the floor like evenly so they could like try to, you know, get enough. And then like I let them out into the forest like to hope that they could like catch something. Like, I was like starting to like lose my mind a little because I hadn't eaten for 5 days. And yeah, like I had a boyfriend at the time that was like on and off, and we still are on and off, and he didn't know how bad it was, and then when I tried to explain it to him, he got me a cab so I could go into town and get food, and get food for the dogs because my car wasn't working. And yeah, so that kind of like started it all off because I was really poor. I didn't have any food, didn't have a job. I was worried about everything. And then one day, yeah, this is what started it off. So Keebler, my basset hound, I was just videotaping him talking about something funny, and talking about how he poops a lot or whatever. And then when he started pooping, it was like blood coming out of his butt. And it just didn't stop for like 10 minutes. And it was like the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. And I called his vet, and they said it sounded like poisoning. And I had reason to believe that there were people who would want to poison my dogs because Remedy, my Shepherd Husky mix, she bit the neighbor, and it was this freak thing that happened. There's a reason why she doesn't like men, and it's because of ones that have hurt me, and that she's actually seen hurt me. And she made him have like 17 stitches, and it was really awful. And these people had threatened her life, and they said if they ever saw her again that they were going to shoot her. And yeah, so I had reason to believe that someone had tried to poison my dogs, and maybe Keeler got it. It was supposed to be meant for Remedy, whatever. But I had to watch him poop blood for like 10 or 15 minutes, and it was awful. And I have it on video, and I don't want to upload it, but I will if I have to. To get people to understand how terrible it was. So that kind of made me go crazy, because I didn't have any money for gas to get to his vet, which was 2 hours away from me. I didn't have money for a vet at all, and so I had no idea what to do because my family wasn't helping me at the moment. Like, I really had no one to ask for help. And so I decided that I was going to ask someone that I used to work with for help back in Arizona. And that started like this huge thing. And people thought I was doing something else because I was doing it on the internet and I was trying to make it funny. And then I started to just, say I'm not going to ask just one particular person, I'm going to ask a lot of people. And I started to add people on the internet that I didn't know. Like, that's what Facebook is for, to make new friends. And so I was asking these people to help me. If I had 5,000 friends, then I could, well, this wasn't even at the time, I wasn't asking for $5,000. I just, as many friends as I could get, and I was like, if every single person donated like $1, I could get Keebler to go to the vet so I could see what's wrong with him. And that was the whole point. And so I started making these satirical videos that were all because I wanted to do this political thing. Before Keebler started pooping freaking blood bombs out of his butthole, I had this idea to start my YouTube channel. I was going to start on Facebook, and I wanted to do like this science experiment with my niece and with other kids around. Like, I wanted the parents to ask their children like the answers, and then the parents would just get on their Facebook and type in what they thought the answers were. And I wanted to conduct a science experiment to get kids to understand what was going on in the world today, like just in general about like how unequal everything is, unequal, how we are fighting these wars that we don't need to be fighting, and how the government works, and basically how there's like this whole group of people that don't have their children still for no reason, and how there's a whole group of people who want to keep people out so badly out of a place that we teach them was founded on everyone coming together and sharing the land, even though that's not true. Like, I just wanted to give children the opportunity to know the truth. and I was going to present it in a really fun way. I had this really fun science experiment set up, and I'll tell you guys about that later. And so part of the science experiment evolved. And it evolved in a way that just kind of like came out of nowhere. I wasn't planning it. I didn't write it down first. It just like came out of me. I was like, what if I do a group text, kind of like how they used to do a like a forwarded email where you just email a whole bunch of people that you probably don't know very well and you try to get them to listen to whatever you're saying. Well, I thought it'd be a good idea to do that, but for like my political thing that I was trying to get. And this was supposed to be meant for adults, but to ask their children these questions. So I kind of like, the way that I wrote it was like children asking adults, like, why is the world like this? Why is the world like this? And it was all written in hashtags, which I thought was really clever because that's how people like talk now. They, everything's a hashtag on the internet, Facebook, Instagram, everything is a hashtag, and that's what is like the trending thing, and that's how the president likes to talk, and so I was really against all that kind of stuff, so that's why I was like making fun of it, but also it makes you look at it because I had all the words like pressed together. So I thought it was actually kind of creative, and I sent it to like maybe like 60 people or something like that, and then I was hoping that they were going to get the idea to continue to pass it on. But it ended up being like a whole bunch of different strands of it that went out, and a lot of people got mad at me. A lot of people thought I was insane just for what I sent, because it was crazy, but it was supposed to make you think. And if you did think, instead of just like being paranoid and scared, maybe you would have understood what I was trying to do. And what I was trying to say. Like, I was trying to talk about how it's totally possible that the government could have access to, all of our internet, everything. Like, anything that we do with the camera is sent up to the cloud, and of course they have access to it. Like, why wouldn't they? It's just the internet, So my science experiment kind of evolved after that to me videoing stuff and seeing if anything happened. Okay, this is hard to explain. So I started making funny videos calling out like Donald Trump and saying a whole bunch of things. Just being silly. Just making a whole bunch of noise. And, excuse me. And then I was like, well, I wonder if I turn off the camera, because my computer wasn't working. And I was like, I wonder if I keep the camera open, but I don't actually have it videoing, if they could still, like, see me, and so basically I just kind of talked a lot, and I had it recording some of the time, and then I had it off some of the time, and it was just me, like, kind of talking about stuff that I wrote down, and, like, things that I think that the world should be like, and how we could end world hunger, and fix the whole planet, and the things that I've been wanting to do my whole life. And And then I started just getting creative with it and like getting kind of angry because I was like, I can't believe that he hasn't said anything yet. Like this is where they say that like I was in a manic episode, okay? So like I didn't sleep for a few days, and that's kind of how it starts. Like you have a lot more energy, and yeah, I was protesting. I mean, I slept like a little bit, but not like normal. So I said that I was protesting the fact that he hadn't done anything to return the children to their mothers yet. The children from Guatemala, right? Is that where they're from? Gosh, I can't even remember. Or no, Honduras? I can't even remember anymore because I just try not to pay attention to the news. It just makes me so sad. I can't. It kills me to think about all the sadness because there's so much sadness all around me, and it just kills me. So anyway, like the fact that all those kids are still like in prison in Texas or wherever they are, and I was like, what is he planning on doing to get them back to their parents? Like how are we planning on fixing this? And then I started getting mad and like saying stuff like si se puede and like a whole bunch of stuff, but a lot of it I wasn't even recording. So I was like, okay, let's see if they can tap into stuff, because this was like while I was adding like a whole bunch of people on Facebook like from Middle Eastern countries, which I thought like if they were like tapped into my thing that that would like be a flag, because every time like you add a couple people on Facebook that you don't actually know, they say like, oh, are you sure you actually know this person? And like you have to hit like yes I do or whatever. And and yeah, I was trying to get the point across. Like I had people from everywhere, from India, from Mexico, from Honduras, from all over the place, because I wanted to become friends with people, because I wanted to start talking about my political ideas, and I also wanted to start sharing my comedy stuff, because I thought that I could make some kind of money off of, making YouTube videos, maybe, I don't know. But the main point was that I needed to raise money for Keebler. And that was how it all started. That was the reason why I was like, okay, well, I'm finally going to make something and do something. And so I thought I could just add a whole bunch of people from around the world and ask them for help. And I just started making these videos, and I guess it kind of got out of control. Everyone thought that I was like gonna kill myself, and I don't know why.